for that forever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I turned it on, what, 6:30 or just a little bit before, and he was trying to wrap up, and they wouldn't even, give him the opportunity to do his wrap up. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Makes that part of the world rough.
it does. It does indeed. So, but yeah. So, he's here for a while then, or just
Uh, he's leaving fairly quick, and then he's going to come back over the weekend. We're going to head to North Platte, but
okay.
it's a ribbon cutting ceremony. It's not a town hall or anything like that. So
Okay. Well, good. Yeah. Yeah, I was just really surprised as I listened to Mike Flood's town hall. But so yeah, I see we've got some people joining that are familiar faces to me.
yeah,
So
I see that.
looks like, yeah.
Well, I'll knock the noise off now. So
Hey, you are always welcome to join and chat. So I
well,
want you to know that. So
thanks, and that's why I come on early, just say hi. So
I'm glad you did.
my
So,
pleasure.
and do.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Ed, I see you're joining us. Can you hear me?
I can. How are you, Lori?
I'm good, good. So looks like you're all set and ready to go. So joining Zoom is kind of like church now. People walk walk in at the 2 o'clock chime. So Val is letting you know in response to our opening slide where he's joining us from today. He's out in the western part of the state. So
Get any snow out there, Val? Yeah.
None at all, Ed.
Okay.
Yeah, we saved it for the eastern side of the state.
Ah, I'm in Council Bluffs, and literally, if we had 2 inches of snow out here, I'd be surprised. But you cross the river and head into Omaha, and there's trees down and snow. My brother had 8 inches of snow, and just a mess.
Yeah, that's what it looked like on some of the newspapers I looked at.
I'll tell
yeah,
you, it's
it
not
was.
quite like church, Lori, because here I could at least have a cup of coffee.
We,
Well,
we
at our church, we get coffee and we can take it into the worship center. So you
Oh,
need to come join us on Sunday.
there you go.
We
Ours as well,
actually
Lori. Yep.
we actually brew it and serve it. So I don't know if we're contributing to the habits of a few people or what, but we've done that for a number of years now. So for those of you joining us, we did ask this question last month, and as you just heard Ed, who is our presenter this month, he's in Council Bluffs. So I'd like you to just either open your microphone or type in the chat box where you're joining us from today, so he gets a sense of who's here in this month's webinar. So feel free to do that as we're waiting for others to join us. And if you got snow, feel free to add that as well. So I was looking at, I have family plans this weekend, and it's supposed to be mid 50s, so not bad. Hopefully by then we'll have our snow gone. So Josh reports from Kearney and got about 6 inches over there. So Stacy's here in Holdridge. So she said it was crazy. Indeed, it was thunder, snow, and all that good stuff that weather people like to to hear.
Yeah, I was a little concerned when I got up at 3 in the morning and we had major flashes, and I thought, what on earth was that? First, I thought, something with a power line or something, and then I realized, oh, that was lightning. And then came the thunder, and I couldn't tell what was hitting my window. If it looked like snow, but it sounded like rain.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of ice under that snow in certain parts of our backyard. So, and then we got Josh who's following March Madness. I think March Madness started yesterday, weather-wise. So now I have to ask Josh, did Creighton win or lose, or are they playing? One of the biggest questions. Okay, good. One of the biggest, what do I want to say, attention getter conversations that we had on a past webinar was Huskers versus Jays, and people talking about the J-skers, and you couldn't be a J-sker if you lived in Nebraska. You had to have loyalty somewhere. So yeah, I'll share my thoughts about betting against Creighton with you sometime, Josh. So who had Xavier beating Texas though? And I don't know if that's NIT or NCAA, but that happened last night. So Josh had Xavier beating Texas. Nice. So, well, we'll give a couple more minutes for everybody to join us. And Ed had Xavier beating Texas as well, or Creighton beating Louisville. I'm losing track here. Did anybody pick UNO to upset St. John's?
Lori, yesterday I saw the best meme about this, and it had all these people, they were being that I'm a sports guy and I know all the teams and they're selecting. And then this girl comes in with their Stanley Cup and she picks because whose uniforms are prettier or if they had a dog as a mascot, and she always wins the pool. So there you go.
Years ago, we had a pool in an office that I worked at, and I tied with the guy who eventually won. He beat me in the tiebreaker, but I had a similar theory. He was into all of the filling out the brackets and such, and I just kind of randomly chose. Oh, drove him nuts that I was beating him for a while, and then we did tie, and he won. But and Rick didn't even fill in a bracket. Me neither, but it is fun to watch. So, okay, it is almost. We're at 2:00. And Krista, yes, there is March Madness. It's a very real thing. So let's hope for the Huskers and the Jays and the Mavericks and all of those teams to do well in their various tournaments that are going on now. So, okay, it is 2:01. I think we will go ahead and get started. I want to honor all of your time. So thanks for joining us and welcome to the March edition of HomeNE for 2025. I wanted to say welcome to spring, and after yesterday's storm that went through the state, I am very thankful for spring to finally have arrived. Happy spring equinox and all of that good stuff that comes with the first day of spring. So thank you for joining us today on the HomeNE Learning Network. I'm Lori Ferguson, as you may know, and I'm with the South Central Economic Development District located in Holdridge. We serve as the lead agent for the HomeNE Network, which is designed for people from all across Nebraska and even beyond our borders who are passionate about seeking to resolve and find solutions for their housing challenges in their communities. So go ahead, Sherry. So the purpose of HomeNE is to provide a setting, as you can see there on your screen, to provide a face-to-face and online opportunities to foster interaction and skill building for all of you who are passionate about seeking to address your housing challenges. But we also want HomeNE to be a network that empowers and encourages all of you to apply what you learn. Maybe you hear something that you can't pound for pound, lack of saying it any better, can apply completely in your own community, but you can utilize a nugget of information and make it your own to address your own housing challenges. So we often say that here when you join us on a monthly basis, but I thought we might share how we're doing in achieving that purpose. And we put together some maps for you here, and Sherry dug out some information. So you can see in the upper left-hand corner, the red dots represent where we have been joined from, different communities across not only the state of Nebraska, but also the country. We've got Nebraska almost turned red there. Thank you very much. We've got friends from South Dakota who have joined us, as well as from the East Coast, the West Coast, and Texas as well. So thank you for making a difference in the HomeNE network. We've also shared some of the statistics of HomeNE there, and the blue dots you can't really see on the enlarged picture of just Nebraska, but we have featured to date 49 different communities and their stories. And so we appreciate all that you've done to make HomeNE Learning Network what it is. So those are kind of fun stats that we wanted to share with you today. So thank you for making that map a reality. Today, we are joined by Ed Shatta. Ed is the Director of Development for the Lutheran Family Services. Lutheran Family Services is one of the largest human care organizations in the state of Nebraska, and they have launched a 10-year strategic plan for the former Dana College campus in Blair. So I'm excited for Ed to share the story of what's happening there at, they now call it Dana Village, and I'm looking forward to the message that he's sharing with us today. As you know, we often do a practice session with our presenters, and he shared some really great stuff that I'm just really looking forward to having you hear as well today during his presentation. So with that, Ed, I just want to welcome you to our Learning Network. And before you begin, would you please share just a little bit about yourself before we launch into your presentation?
Sure, that sounds great. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, Lori and Sherry, for helping to set all this up and walk through all the PowerPoint here and get me online and kind of assist me, be my wheelchair for me. I appreciate all that. Nice to meet all of you. And yeah, I started out in Omaha. Well, I'm born and raised from Omaha, grew up in Omaha. I ended up going to Creighton and then down to Northern Arizona for graduate school, got into the oil industry and then into finance, and lived in Denver and Chicago and San Francisco, and went through a divorce and ended up with custody of my son. So I moved back to Omaha, and I'm sorry here, I'm going to turn my phone off. It seems to be buzzing. Ended up back in Omaha and worked for John Nelson and Bellevue University and launched new products for them and helped Bellevue University get into the corporations around Omaha. Then took over and ran the equipment finance group for Great Western Bank. And throughout all that, I launched an event in Omaha called Project Homeless Connect Omaha, where I sent buses out and picked up the homeless, and I brought them back for a one-day event at Creighton University. And we gave them, we had over 40 service providers there, and we had 2 basketball courts filled with doctors and dentists and optometrists. And we gave them, we got them into dentures and glasses and fed them a meal. And the event grew from 2007 with about 230 people to ending right before COVID with 648. And during all that time, I tried everything I could to see if I could end homelessness. I had people in there with jobs. I had people in there with resumes. We got them into housing. Within a week of the event, we'd have almost 20% of them into housing. But it wasn't ending homelessness. It kept growing, and you'd add psychiatry and you'd add more, but nothing was working. And then one day I saw that Frank Krejci had the Dana campus. It had gone bankrupt in 2010, and Frank it was an article that basically said he'd give it to somebody that had or a 501c3 that had a good idea. So I called him, we started talking, and the next thing you know, you're given a college campus and you say, wow, this is great. Holy crap. Now what do I do with this thing? And it started out, I had 17 buildings and 150 acres of land. And you looked around and said, there's 5 dormitories. I've got over 500,000 square footage of space total. And what do I do with all this other than end homelessness? And when you're running that event and you're looking at the homeless that are coming into the event and you're talking to people, you realize that 40% of the people who touch homelessness came from the foster care system. And so I started looking into more and more about the foster care system and what could be done about it. And I found an idea in Europe where they took college students and mixed them with elderly. And it turned out to be wonderful for the elderly and terrific for the kids. And in this case, with the foster kids, it was giving them grandparents that they may have never had. It was taking them off the streets. It was, an opportunity to reduce incarceration, and reduce homelessness, because these kids, again, it's another 40% that end up homeless. I mean, the statistics are absolutely astounding when you get into how people become homeless and what the foster care system has to do with that. So, I looked at this campus as being some way to end homelessness, and I started with the NDD, the Nebraska Department of Economic Development. They gave me a grant to fix up one of the apartments, one of the dormitories into apartments. And I made 12 two-bedroom apartments and ended up with roughly 13 youth in the campus and one elderly woman, and the kids affectionately call her grandma, and she's a year younger than I am. So you can imagine how I felt and what they're probably calling me. At any rate, the kids were they were going through different stages. We took kids that were 18 to 26 and we got them into the housing. And you can see the campus up there that has, on the very right of your screen by the track, is a gymnasium. So I've got this D2 roughly gymnasium with 2 huge basketball courts, office space, classrooms, meeting space. Was donated by Schwab, about $150,000 worth of workout equipment, so the kids could come in and use the gym. And we made it a requirement that if you were going to come to the campus, you had to have a job, you had to be going to school, or you had to have a combination of the two. You couldn't just sit around. And we monitored what they were doing, how they were working. We did quarterly inspections to make sure they were working, and we got the kids together with grandma, who she would teach them how to cook, and she wanted the second floor. So she'd teach them how to cook, and she taught this one young woman how to do her laundry. And the the kids would carry in the groceries for grandma on the second floor. So it was really a remarkable relationship to see this develop. And so you see the whole campus there for the most part. The land to the right, I sold off, and we converted 2 more dormitories. You see the round building sort of in the center there. The 2 buildings to the right, we converted into 63 apartments. So now we've got roughly 75 people up on campus, and we're learning how to work with the kids, how to work with the elderly, how to get them together. So we're developing new programs. But if you go to the next slide now, so you've got a layout of the campus here. On the next slide, we have introduced to these youth. It's not up on mine. There we go. Housing. So you look at the housing. If you give them a place to live and provide them with safety and give them an opportunity and the resources to build a future, and that includes skills training, job training, working with the HR directors in Blair, you're giving the kids now an opportunity to get off the street, focus on what they can do to move forward, and then working to keep them employed. Because if you can keep them employed for a year, they'll work for the rest of their lives. And these statistics play out. So I'm not just making these up. These are statistics that absolutely are published and you can follow. The encouragement that we give the kids with the therapy and the life skills, take their meds, get to work on time. We had one young man who I got a phone call from Woodhouse Auto. They said, we love this kid. We'd like to promote him. However, we can't get him to show up on time. So he and I went and had a cup of coffee, talked about what was going on, what he could accomplish. He's now a manager working in Omaha for Woodhouse Auto. The young woman that you see in this picture, she's now gone on to work with kids that are autistic. She just asked for a letter of recommendation because she's applying for a grant to go to school because she wants to get a degree in sociology and psychology so that she can continue and advance in this career. I thought that was really kind of a neat thing to have happen. Lutheran Family Services has been CCBHC approved. So it now provides us with that trauma care treatment that kids would need as they progress. And let me take a step back further because I was running all this on my own, doing all this up until from 2017, roughly until 2023. And at that point, I'd had to have a triple bypass operation, and I realized that I had no secession plan. So I started talking with Lutheran Family Services, and we ended up merging at the end of 2023. And it gave my group, instead of standing on a street corner with a guitar, banging my foot on a drum pedal, blowing a harmonica and trying to sing, I now had this huge group behind me. So it's been a really neat merger and a neat opportunity to get together with a group of individuals who want to give back and can help me with the vision of how we make this better. So Blair had a unique opportunity when I came into this, as I saw it, because the college had gone bankrupt. The town was in need of employees because it was growing rapidly. They had the Cargill Biotech campus. Dollar General was coming in. They had 600 plus jobs, and there was no housing units really available in Blair at that time. So people were coming in from Omaha to fill these jobs, or they were already in Blair. So there was no new place for these people to live. So that's why we developed the new apartments, and that's a LIHTC project so that we could take the elderly, combine them with the youth, and then mix them with people kind of in the middle, but they're low income. So you've got this completely intergenerational campus where the youth can be helped by the elderly as well as those that are kind of in between youth and elderly who really want to work, and they provide the employees that these companies need up there. So where you see new employees in the workforce development, literally what we've brought to Blair is a completely new workforce, one that hadn't been thought of before with these youth aging out of foster care. And even the elderly are doing things like driving the school buses, working as part-time employees there's a greenhouse, and they go out there and they'll work in there and do it as part-time just so they can feel the need. And you can walk pretty much anywhere you want to from our campus. Jobs walking would be a 10-minute walk to get to work. And it gives people an opportunity to grow into jobs, to have a place to live where there's no traffic. And I'm sure in some of your small towns that like Grand Island or Kearney, you know, and I'm comparing it to Omaha when I say small. Um, but Blair is only 8,000 people. So it's so easy to get around and so easy to get to where you need to, that it's been absolutely an ideal spot to expand for this type of a workforce. So on the next slide, you can see what we've done with the apartments. They're brand new. We completely gutted the dormitories and converted them into studio 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. Everything is brand new. People are excited to see new apartments when they come up here. Um, and it's been really good for the youth because we give them everything they need in their apartment when they come to us. So they'll get their furniture, they'll get their bedding, they'll get pots and pans, everything down to utensils and bathroom accessories and shower curtains. So if you're coming to us as a youth, and we take youth from all over Nebraska, we've got a young woman from North Platte, we've got 2 young men from the tribal reservation up in Macy's. I've got another from down in, oh my gosh, south of Lincoln, and a couple more from over in Iowa. So we're looking to expand this just because we want to become the Ivy League of youth aging out of foster care. And so with this workforce, we figure that the way we're going to grow is we've got 2 more dormitories that we could convert. The LIHTC funding has been absolutely terrific, except it puts restrictions on how you can house people. So we had money from DHHS, which said you could only take this kind of a population for the youth. You had NIFA, who said you couldn't take anybody that's been in school for 5 months. And so we turned down 17 people. And just because of the way it's set up from an income perspective, if someone came in and they had bridge to independence dollars, which gives them $1,000 a month for aging out of foster care, plus they said they were going to make $20 an hour, it put them, we couldn't approve them for the LIHTC project. So we've learned a lot as we go through this. And we need to do a combination next time of LIHTC dollars and mixed market rate apartments, because you get a group of people that is working and making money, and you want to offer them something better and a step up and an opportunity not to be in this project, so we can bring more people in that were in their position when they initially came to us. So with a combination of the historic tax credits as well, it's become a unique opportunity and a unique project. And we were just awarded one of the best projects in the United States. And, you know, the big thing about this is there was nothing else out there for me to draw upon. So when you say, what did you do wrong? It's hard to say we did anything wrong, and it's hard to say we did everything right, because we didn't have a model to draw upon. We didn't have any other people that we could talk to ask about this. So I got together with 17 of the service providers around the area to come up with what we needed, what the youth needed, and how we could get these kids and this workforce into Blair and in working. So the next slide. So this is the campus looking down at the 2 dormitories that we converted. Right across the street's the gymnasium, and we try to leave it open for the youth so that if they're working a shift till midnight, they have an opportunity to go over enter a code and go into the gym and play basketball, use the weights, walk around the track. We've got an outdoor track and an indoor track, so it's really neat for the elderly as well. It gives them an opportunity to move about and to stretch their legs without having to go to a mall, of course, right? They could just go over to the gym. And this is what we're hoping will bring the youth together with the elderly. We don't want to force mentoring program. We want to do it kind of by osmosis where they're together and they just start talking and they have an opportunity to sit together and we come up with activities for them so that they can get together and they want to talk to each other and it becomes more of a helpful situation for them. We started out with 150 acres. I'm now down to 70 acres. We're looking at that round building that I showed you at the beginning that could be converted into a coffee shop, a place for when the youth sports come up to the gymnasium, they've got a place to go sit and have hot dogs, pizza, something to drink. It's a place to hang out in between games. We're talking to some other people about the possibility of a restaurant opening there, and working with Metro Community College so that we can also bring classes to the youth that we have up on campus who may not have a car. And so they could work right there on campus and at the same time work in a culinary program and then take those skills either out into the city of Blair or out into Omaha or wherever else they came from. So that being said, we've still got other buildings we got to deal with. I've got this fine arts building that has a 300-seat auditorium. It's got a conference center. We've got to get the gym in order. It needs a new HVAC system. I've got a $2 million grant from the state, but it's a matching grant. So I've got another $2 million to raise so that we can do the work to the HVAC system. It's all the work that you can't see, the HVAC system, converting classrooms, doing work on the bathrooms. You can imagine this place sat around for, oh boy, almost 14 years without any activity. So there's a lot of work that has to be done inside of it. The story I was telling you about the young men from Macy, they went to work, excuse me, at Taco Bell, walking to and from work from our campus. It's just basically down the bottom of the hill. I caught them one day walking to work, gave them a ride, and they said they didn't have a car, so I got them into Opportunity Passport, which works with them on life skills such as building a budget, getting their finances in order, and they save the money to be able to buy a car. Opportunity Passport will give them, I believe it's $8,000 if they save 2,000. And so he bought this car and now he got a job at Dollar General, which is further down the road, and he could drive to work. And instead of making $15 an hour at Taco Bell, which they need the employees, but so does Dollar General, and it keeps helping him move up. He's now been working, he's been with me now almost 2 years. It's been great having Damon up there. But it gives them the opportunity to learn, to progress, to move forward. It gives the town the workers that they need to expand. And at the same time, from a community perspective, we're not that place up on the hill. Next slide, please. Let's see. Sorry about that. Should have been pushing it myself there, Sherry. I've got it on mine. So we had the EPA and it said they were doing a brownfield project for us. So as you're looking at this campus, this is what they're envisioning we can do with the facilities that we have up there that you were looking at. The round building again is sort of the center of the campus with the gym, and the rest of the buildings are housing and office space. And we'd like to eventually get to 400 apartments up on the campus, and we've got 75 now. So we've got our work cut out for us. We're looking at a number of different opportunities. We've got someone coming up this week. We're talking to developers, but because they need so much in the way of housing in Blair, our campus being so close is kind of like an Exarban village. It offers an opportunity or provides an opportunity to grow and expand, kind of like an Exarban village, where you have living and working and offices and community meeting space. And so it gives us a nice opportunity to just grow and expand. And I think that's basically it. But a real shout out to the NDED and the organizations in Nebraska, such as NIFA, HUD. I mean, they've been terrific to work with, to have helping throughout all this process, because I don't have Frank Krejci's money. And so trying to develop something like this has been a unique learning experience for me. I was a finance person, so when you're working in banking, working in finance, you understand that piece of it, but understanding how to get the money together to develop a campus has been a real learning experience. And working two jobs and plus doing another event was really kind of an interesting time. And at 68 years old, my wife thought I was a bit insane. So I think I'm probably in need, once we get the people up on campus, to go visit with some of the psychiatrists that we bring in.
Okay. Thank you, Ed. I am getting some questions for you, so let me run those by you. Gina is curious about gaps that you might have at Dana Village, and how can people give?
Boy, when you say the gap up on campus, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and Dina, if you wouldn't mind elaborating, she's just asking about the gaps that you might have.
The best thing
I
I've
guess I'm
heard
not
There she is.
understanding.
Yep.
Okay.
in a while. Thank you. I'm wondering, I know you said like you had a matching grant and you needed the funds for that. Are there any other gaps that you need filled?
So we're at a point right now where we had DHHS funding for this past year. It helped us get a van. It helped us build a computer room. It helped us to initially get our programs off the ground with the youth that we had up on campus. But a year into it, you can see where you do, and I'm going to use the term gap, have a gap in what the kids need and how to get them together with the elderly, how to build your mentoring programs, and whether it should be peer-to-peer mentoring, which of course you need, and you need just direct mentoring programs. We need to get job training. We've had 3 organizations come to us and say, Freightliner came to us and said, we need mechanics and drivers. What do we need to do with you to get that up on campus? So we're evaluating all that. And with the programs that we want to bring to the kids, we've got a gap of about $330,000 there. So it, writing a check to Lutheran Family Services, or sending money to Lutheran Family Services in care of Dana Village, is probably the best way. And the same thing with filling up the rooms. So we let the kids, when they leave, take that furniture and the pots and pans. This is a start for them. We've had most of the kids that come in they have no furniture, no pots and pans, nothing. So this is a start. We give them brand new, fresh stuff. It costs somewhere around $2,500 to furnish it. We have gifts from a number of different churches and a number of different people to help now with the pots and the pans and some of the rest of the utensils. We've got quilts that have been given. But to expand the programs for the youth is where we really need it. And then to to fill their apartment with furniture is probably the next step. The matching grant for the 2 million for the gym. We've just kicked that off and we've got about 300,000 we signed in January. So we've got a shortfall there that we need to make up by the end of the year. That's probably one of the more exciting projects that we have. But as for a place where, someone could put their name and give you $1 million and put their name on the building and call it the center for their mom or something. And that's great. But I think when you get back into some of the programs for the kids, those are going to be really the key things that I see are important. Did I answer your question?
I believe so. If not, Dina, circle back in, but I also have some questions. How do you or do you keep tabs on individuals that maybe leave campus?
Excuse me, when it was just me, I had everybody's name and contact information on my phone because when you were talking about earlier, Lori, what are some of the lessons that you learned? I gave everybody key fobs, and it's funny how they'd lose them. And at 3 in the morning, I'd get a phone call saying they couldn't get back into their apartment. Could I help them? I live in Council Bluffs, and they're over in Blair, so it's about a 45-minute drive to get there. I learned that I'd switch it up and I'd give them a code. We switch the doors out. Um, and I'm sorry, what was the question?
How do you or do you keep track of
Oh,
individuals
the
once they
kid.
leave campus? Yeah.
So I've got a lot of my former people on my phone, and so they'll text me every now and then to let me know what's going on or if they need help or they need something. They've sort of got me on speed dial, and I'll always look at them as my kids.
Okay. And then some questions about resource providers that might be able to assist entrepreneurs. Are you connected in any way, or um, kids who maybe want to start their own career path? Do you have any resources available or resource
No,
providers?
that would be something I'd see down the road. The first thing I'd want to do, because a lot of kids think they can jump in and make money and it's going to be really easy and they're going to make it. So I haven't really been pushing the entrepreneurial path. Most of the kids that are coming here don't want, these are kids that don't want to go to college. They're tired of school. They maybe just barely graduated from high school and they go to work at Dollar General on the loading dock. They're making $18 an hour, or in distribution, they're making 18 to $24 an hour. I've got the young man excuse me, that you saw on that first picture next to him. I got him into the welders union and he's standing up on a building he was working at in Omaha. He eventually saved enough money and now is living back in Omaha and he's become a welder. So I'm pushing more of the blue collar type of jobs, as you call them, and getting them into working in the community, keeping them working. Entrepreneurial, I think, can come later. You give them an understanding of that. You have people coming in and talking to them about different opportunities. You get them into working in this Freightliner program I'm really excited about because mechanics for Freightliner are making over 100,000 a year. And in 3 years, we can get them making close to 100,000 a year.
Wow, that would be really cool, life-changing for some of those kids, no doubt. So, yeah, so
Because then
there's,
they're not pregnant, then they're not incarcerated. I mean, look at the people who end up sex trafficked. You'll find out that I think that number's almost 60% have come out of the foster care system.
wow, that's tragic to hear that kind of a number. So, and
Yeah, and if you get them into something like this where they're working, and the town has been great, absolutely accepting and willing to be mentors, willing to show the kids around. We had kids who had a tire that had gone flat, and people from town came up and said, "Hey, we see you're from up on campus," and They took them to the tire shop. The guy changed his tire for free. It's really a generous town. And I think when you get into Kearney, when you get into Grand Isle, you get into Beatrice, you get into some of these small towns, it's more a community, and I think it's more valuable to these youth. And so I really like smaller towns, and if there's opportunity for them to work, I think it's terrific.
Right. Well, you just kind of answered my question, how did the city respond? But it sounds like it's been very favorable.
Yeah, they've given me TIF funding. They've worked on this grant for the $2 million. We're working on doing another little tax thing that could give us maybe 500,000 more. So the town's willing to do anything that we need.
Great, great. So, and probably the Freightliner opportunity will have an established apprentice program, or how will that work?
So it's very similar because they'll be living here and they'll go through the class, then they'll go to a Freightliner dealer, and that could be anywhere in the United States, and
Okay,
they'll work that program for 6 months and then they'll come back. So it'll pay for their housing while they're gone,
okay,
and so they'll have it when they come back. So it's a 6 month on, 6 month off, 6 month on, 6 month off program.
okay.
Woodhouse has something similar for their technicians, and we've been in talks with them about how that could work. Right now, we have 15 youth up there on campus. We know there's at least 17 more because we turned them down. Um, and we've got 19 elderly. So there's plenty of opportunity to help them grow.
Yeah. So great information. What questions do you have for Ed?
Did I
I do,
use a developer?
yes, I
There's
was just going to say,
Ryan Durant and has been absolutely a godsend. He's with MDC and he works with the state. He's done a number of light tech projects in a number of different cities. Plattsmouth, I think he's got one out in North Platte, and he's here in Omaha. And he walked me through the process. He's been involved at every step, and he's been a partner in this with me. So I'd say yes, I've used that developer. I'm talking to other developers. A lot of times, developers want you to give them stuff, and I want them to give me stuff because I'm a not-for-profit.
okay. Yeah, I think Ryan's name is somewhat familiar to many of those who join us here at HomeNE. So, good stuff from Ryan there for sure. So, what other questions are coming to mind or comments that you want to share with Ed about his vision and what he's brought to reality there in Blair? I do have a question, but I want to give others a chance.
We do have, we're aligned with Omaha unions to get them into the unions so that they get into apprentice programs that way.
Okay, okay.
Because I think, honestly, I think as much money as I had to pay an electrician the other day, and I've had plumbers that I've had to pay, there's a lot of money to be made. So I'd really like to get these kids into those programs. And I say kids again, guys, I'm 68, okay? So most of you I'm looking at on the screen are kids to me.
So, and maybe you addressed this, but how do you connect with these kids? Is it strictly
Um,
referrals? How do you?
I I built this with the help of 17 service providers from Omaha. I got in with Nebraska Children and Families, who introduced me to Project Everlast and then Central Plains, and it just grew from there. And they've helped with the notion because again, I'm a finance guy. I don't know anything about this. So most everything I've learned is from asking other people and having the people who are in the know tell me what I should be doing. And we'd form committees and I'd have people on different committees, and that when I needed something, I could pull it from them. And so they basically helped me build this to get it to Lutheran Family Services. And um, it's, I know I don't know a lot, so I go outside and ask people all the time. You
Well,
want
and
to
they've
talk
been,
money, I can talk money with you, but youth, it's different, and they don't trust you right away. It takes time for them to trust you. They've been burned and they think everybody's out to take advantage of them. So it takes a year to build up trust with these youth.
okay, okay. Questions for Ed?
I am so impressed with this. Having a daughter that's worked in the juvenile justice system for years now, um, there, this is a huge need, and kudos to you personally and to Blair for embracing this. I think it's something that, no, we can't just R&D, rob and duplicate it in every community because not everybody has a facility like this, but man, I bet everybody has something that they could work on, or at least now they have a connection to you. I think that I'd love to see you showcase this across the nation, because I think it is something that's happening that can be duplicated and should be duplicated and should certainly be celebrated. Um, do you track these kids as they move out and go on? Do you keep track and survey every now and then to see how they're doing or anything?
I've got to admit, I've done very poorly at that, just simply because of the resources. Those are some of the parameters that we're building into the program going forward. How do you measure success? Okay. If you say I've had 30 kids and I've had 15 that have gone on and been successful, and 15 who've remained out of prison and off the streets. And um, I'd say pretty much out of 30 kids, I'll bet 20 of them have been successful at either working or trying to work or staying off the streets. Um, But when you look at it and you say, was it successful for the city of Blair? What did we add to Blair? What are you measuring when you look at that? And what are the outcomes that you expect? And so I've got a set in my head of things that I'd like to measure, both from a community and for the kids, and tracking them. I'd love to be able to say, here's where they all are and here's what they've all done. And absolutely, I think you have to do that. That has to be done, because how else do you measure whether this has been successful or not? Because I look at it, and when I first started doing this, I said, if I can help one kid, it's a success.
Well, yeah,
But
like you say, those success metrics are different for everybody. Um, Watching, like I said, watching what it did to my daughter when she had a second generation, when she had the child of a girl she'd had in the juvenile justice system. She was like, oh, we're just failing, So did they stay out of jail? Did they stay out of
yeah,
juvenile justice? There's lots of things that I think would be successful, and it's not, did they become a senator? you know
yes.
um did they live a productive life and not get trafficked and not get into the drugs and all those. There's so many things, but it is, that's just a whole nother level of thought when you're trying to take care of them and build more and make more space, and then it's like, oh, and we were supposed to keep track of all of them too, and yeah, that's a hard one. I wonder, when you get down the road, is this going to be a place that they're going to want to come back and visit? Are they going to want to get together and say, man, remember when we were here and look how far we've come?
You hit the nail on the head, because when I started this, I wanted to be able to say, we have classes of youth that have come in. So kind of like a college where people want to come back, or you have a job board. And let's say that young man who was the welder ends up down in Louisiana on an oil rig, and he's a manager down there and they need to hire people. Well, I'd like him to post it up here and come talk to the kids up here to hire. And I'd like him to come in and talk to them. So I really do want to track them. And I want kids to come back and say, oh, yeah, I was here and you were my mentor and you were his mentor. And, you get kind of a class reunion kind of thing going. And eventually, I'd like to be there. 10 years from now, I'd like to be there. I'd like to have kids coming back. Like we host the Dana alumni every year up here in the gym. I'd like to host the Angel Share alumni.
Yeah.
That would be amazing to witness. So to see them come back and talk about
Yeah.
when. Yeah,
And say, God, Ed,
definitely.
you were a real pain in my rear. But hey,
Thank you, right?
yes,
I mean, you always hope, we hope that with our own kids too, right? And the neighbor
yeah,
kids and all that. Kids you coach or kids you teach, you hope that someday they're like, man, I hated you. Thank you.
yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you for
Thank you.
being that thorn.
Yeah.
Dang it, you
Yeah.
expected me to be better, and then I was.
Mhm.
Yeah, and those are the immeasurables you've talked about, that you can't easily put on paper, but they are the heartwarming measurables of life. So, yeah. So,
Well, and they're the ones that, the thing is about the tracking and the telling those stories, that's what helps you get the funding.
Yes, it is. Exactly.
And,
Exactly.
and I'm with you. I'm a numbers person. I'll tell you all about the numbers, but don't make me write that story.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
make me think of that angle. Don't make me, but yeah.
Well, so I was a math major for that very reason. I can track numbers and 1 + 1 = 2. I get it. Okay. But if I've got to sit down and write out why it did that, I'm either going to give you way too much information or not enough. So just give me the numbers.
I get it.
yeah. Okay. Good conversation. Any other questions for Ed? We'll go ahead and put up your contact information, Ed, so that people who want to reach out to you directly,
Please do.
with,
Yes.
yeah, we've got it there on the slide. So he is the Director of Development with Lutheran Family Services, and we've got your phone number and your email information there. So be sure and jot that down too. So you can reach out directly on a variety of questions or thoughts you might have for Ed. So with that, I just want to say thank you, Ed, for joining us today and sharing this story that's successful in so many ways for the next generation of youth and correcting their career paths and giving them honor back to their life. So thank you for sharing that. And just to remind all of you that Ed's story today can be found on our website, along with many, many others that we've shared. As I mentioned earlier, we're approaching 80 webinars, but this is one of those not just good stories, but this is one of those feel-good stories that you will want to share with others in the housing field and just revisit sometime in the future. So our next webinar is going to be Thursday, April 17th, and springtime is going to be here, hopefully in full force by then, but feel free to join us then. So, and then just to conclude today, I wanted to share just a little thought that had come to me some time ago, but I was reminded of it the other day, that feedback is the breakfast of champions. I heard that statement made on a podcast a while back. And so we want to know how HomeNE has been impacting and helping you. Are you learning things from HomeNE that you're applying in your communities? And as I shared earlier, I am shamelessly plugging my own grandchildren who are champions in my life. Really did try to put a Wheaties box on this slide, but it just didn't look right. So I'm using my grandkids here for free. But we want to know how HomeNE can better serve you. what stories also are out there that you might be willing to share with us so that we can continue bringing HomeNE to you. Is there something in your own backyard that just seems average to you? Still let us know, because we'll do the legwork and we'll help develop that story, or maybe combine it with some other stories across the state. We want to hear what you have to say about HomeNE in many ways. So feel free to drop Sharon and myself a line, an email, a phone call. We would really welcome your feedback in order to make HomeNE even better in serving you and your community. So as I shared earlier, we've featured 49 communities in our last 7 years of being a learning network, and we want to increase that number to the best of our ability. So we'd love to hear from you. So just concluding, thank you, Ed, once again for sharing and taking time out of your day and for the mission that you are on. We greatly appreciate it. So any last thoughts?
Just thank you so much for allowing me to tell the story, and hopefully it resonates somewhere. And if you need anything, please give me a call.
Okay, we
Um,
will do that.
I
Yes.
see in the chat that Sean Caskey with Rural Prosperity Nebraska says AI can help with stories and they can help with that. So says we can do a program for that. So there you go. Sean, I hope you
Uh-oh.
grabbed his contact information and you'll reach out to him, because that's how good
Yes.
partnerships happen.
Yes, thank you.
Definitely. Yeah. So a connection made. So great. So, well, thank you to everybody for your time today and for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you next month. And again, Ed, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yes. Have a great rest of your day.
You
Bye,
too.
guys. Happy spring.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Lori. Take care.
You too.
I
Can't
gotta
hear you,
stop the
Sharon.
live stream.